War-torn Ukraine has a big problem. Its closest ally, the friend pumping blood to keep the country alive, has put forth a condition. Rid your country of corruption or no more aid. That's the big ultimatum coming from the United States of America for Ukraine. Washington wants Ukraine to get serious about tackling corruption. Fight the Russians by all means, but also fight the rampant corruption in your country. Now, Ukraine's future could depend on whether and how fast it can tackle corruption. According to reports, Washington wants Ukraine to undertake a series of very specific, very strict anti-corruption measures in exchange for more aid. And they have given a time limit as well. US officials have circulated a list of priority reforms for Ukraine, suggesting that future aid could depend on whether the government complies. Sent out by the White House, the document in question was reportedly shared with other potential supporters of the Ukrainian war effort. In a statement on Monday, the US Embassy in Kyiv confirmed that it had provided a proposed list of priority reform meant for discussion and feedback among Ukrainian officials and other possible donors. The US Embassy's statement read, "As part of an ongoing dialogue with Ukraine and stakeholders in Ukraine's future success, the US provided a proposed list of priority reforms for discussion and feedback at the multi-donor coordination platform in Brussels. The list was provided as a basis for consultation with the government of Ukraine and key partners as part of our enduring support to Ukraine and its efforts to integrate into Europe, a goal the United States strongly supports. The aim of the effort is to prioritize and consolidate reform steps with Ukraine and among key stakeholders." This statement came after Ukrainian media outlets obtained a copy of the list of these proposed policies. Some reports indicating that Kyiv's compliance with these reforms is crucial for future aid disbursement. According to the document, US officials have classified these reforms based on their urgency. Some are tagged as 0 to 3 month priorities. Others are anticipated to be rolled out over an extended period, possibly up to 18 months down the road. Most importantly, immediate policies include measures to strengthen Ukraine's Special Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, also to enhance the staff of the separate National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. Among the long-term objectives are a plethora of judicial as well as economic reform, including the liberalization of gas and electricity tariffs in the country. The American document calls for a comprehensive overhaul of Ukraine's defense ministry in order for it to align with NATO standards of transparency, coupled with a revamp of the military's procurement procedures. While US President Joe Biden has greenlit billions in military assistance to Ukraine, he has consistently stressed the need to rein in corruption within Ukraine. This demand has been made on several occasions, even prompting the Pentagon to launch a dedicated monitoring team. This team has been tasked with tracking the flow of weapons on ground, a first since the escalation of hostilities with Moscow last year. It comes amidst calls by Republican lawmakers in the United States for greater oversight, with the Biden administration on having recently asked Congress to earmark another $24 billion for Ukraine. An increasing number of Republican lawmakers has now begun calling for greater control over how this money is being utilized in the war by Ukraine. In fact, it is at the center of a US Senate bid to avert a government shutdown. It seems that Ukraine's closest friend is now getting fed up as the war drags on. Republicans in Congress have been demanding a more detailed breakdown of US aid since February last year. A group of lawmakers even recently sent a letter to the White House demanding specific figures. Interestingly, the Ukrainian public shares similar concerns regarding official corruption. Recent polls indicate that some 77% of Ukrainians believe that President Zelensky is directly responsible for the corruption at home. Ukraine's corruption is getting out of hand. In fact, it could hamper Ukraine's bid for a membership within the European Union. Ukraine applied for membership in the EU last year. It was formally granted candidate status 4 months later. But the reason it has not been inducted into the bloc is because of its corruption. Yes, Zelensky has taken many measures to tackle the problem, including a purge of allegedly corrupt officials recently at the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. He also tasked the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, with probing and prosecuting corruption cases, taking investigative power away from the country's multiple anti-graft agencies. Remember, the SBU reports solely to Zelensky. For years, Ukraine has been ranked as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. According to Transparency International's recent Corruption Perception Index, as of 2022, Ukraine ranked 116th out of 180 countries when it came to corruption. And so, just as the EU expresses concern, skepticism in the United States has also been fueled by reports of corruption in Ukraine. It's not a matter of war fatigue with Russia at this point. It's a realization that Ukraine may be exploiting the generosity of its ally. How long Ukraine continues to evoke sympathy from its allies will depend on how long it takes to clean house. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.